Taxes are not charity. St. John the Philosopher here. While scrolling through my social media feed, this video of former President Obama popped up as something many people were praising.
There's only so much you can eat. There's only so big a house you can have. There's only so many nice trips you can take. I mean, it's enough. You don't have to take a vow of poverty just to say, well, let me help out a few of the other folks. Let me look at that child out there who doesn't have enough to eat or needs some school fees. Let me help him out. I'll pay a little more in taxes. It's okay.
Where do I begin? The first portion of this statement by the former president plays with a far too common misconception about wealth and economics. For some reason, people think being rich is like this. They think that for the wealthy, money is some static, eternal resource that's only purpose is to buy expensive toys and to be spent doing rich people things like you see on TV, gourmet meals, gigantic houses, and luxurious vacations. But that's not where rich people put most of their wealth. They actually put it back into the economy. This handy infographic pretty much says it all. As you can see, the larger the net worth, the larger the percentage of wealth held in one or more business interests. And if you haven't been paying attention, businesses are how we earn money and where we get our stuff. They're kind of important. In a free market capitalist society, most of our wealthy people got rich because they found a way to create value for a whole lot of people, generating jobs along the way. You're watching this video right now on a device someone dreamed up, sitting in a climate-controlled space because of someone else's invention, probably eating something produced in a highly efficient plant on the other side of the country, having been delivered by a company specializing in transporting things. You're sitting there as the beneficiary of all that because you decided to purchase them. At every turn in the process of getting those things to you, there are hundreds of people who make money by doing so. And all the way at the origin of these blessings of the modern age are men and women of extreme competence in technology, business, and finance making piles of money. The rich. And when they're done giving you something useful for a cheap price, paying their workers' salaries and healthcare benefits, and fattening up a whole bunch of people's retirement accounts with increasing stock values, they'll eat a gourmet meal, buy a new home, and take a vacation, benefiting even more people in the process. That's one of the great things about capitalism. Even the most greedy and selfish person has to help others. When they make money, they do so by creating something of value that people will buy and paying people to make it happen. When they spend some of the money they make, they contribute to markets that employ even more people. And all the money they don't use, living high on the hog, is invested in more businesses. Heck, even the money they just shove into a simple savings account becomes part of the pool of cash needed to make loans available to people wanting to buy homes or start businesses of their own.
You're onto something big. Okay, to the point, I think we should start with around 90 grand, see where that takes us.
We'll do the $90,000 investment at a $300,000 valuation, but I also want you to kick in a $250,000 credit line with 10% interest to be paid back in full once we meet net revenue positive.
Okay. What I mean is okay.
You see, All that reality is lost in translation when we dismissively reference certain people's spending habits, Mr. Obama.
That's not right.
Now, the second portion of this clip is the real focus here. It's one thing to implore the rich to be philanthropic with their wealth, and quite another to demand higher taxation. People just don't seem to understand taxes. From my previous videos, we've already discussed the natural rights trinity: life, liberty, and property, and how the American government is the safeguard for those freedoms, empowered by we the people through this contract called the Constitution. Part of that contract is a provision for taxation in order to provide the government the resources it needs to meet the requirements of its existence. To put it more simply and to my point, taxes are what we all pay for benefits we should all receive, a fair exchange for services rendered. They are not for the purpose of helping people. And since this whole American experiment is a collective deal, taxes are not optional. They are so not optional, in fact, that if you don't pay them, people with guns can come to your home, drag you away in handcuffs, and take away years of your life in prison. Al Capone wasn't busted for being one of the biggest crime bosses in history. He went to prison for tax evasion.
So call the mayor. He'll have it squashed in no time.
This is federal, Al. Over $2 million in unclaimed income.
Peanuts.
It's tax evasion.
No, it's a joke is what it is.
Whenever you discuss taxes, you have to remain aware of the reality that you're talking about being able to take a portion of everyone's property at the point of a gun. Charity, on the other hand, is the free will offering of one's own property for the express purpose of helping people.
Say that again.
Charity, on the other hand, is the free will offering of one's own property for the express purpose of helping people. When you donate to a soup kitchen or the Red Cross, it's not an expectation of receiving food and medical care for yourself. It's because something in you understands the plight of the less fortunate. It internalizes it, and in an outpouring of love, moves you to make a sacrifice, large or small. That sort of thing changes you for the better, and it makes for a better society. What the former president said in that clip, and what I often hear from well-meaning fellow citizens, ignores the clear distinction between taxes and charity. And in so doing, they ignore the true implications of their words. When you advocate increasing taxes for some altruistic purpose, like feeding the poor, as suggested by Mr. Obama, you're asking to extract property from Americans by force to do so.
You want my property? You can't have it.
Imagine you get paid in cash, and every payday, a homeless man waits outside your job holding a sign. Sometimes you give him something, and sometimes you don't, because it's your money, and you get to decide what to do with it and when.
Excuse me for a moment, please.
What did you give him?
Oh, I just gave him some pocket change.
One day you come out and there's a second guy there. If you don't give to the homeless man that day, the second guy shames you for your greed. If you do give, he chastises you for your stinginess because the amount isn't to his liking. But you still do what you can. Sometime after that, you come out and there's a third guy. The third guy has a gun. The second guy demands you give, and if you refuse this time, he gets the third guy to threaten you until you do. If you're advocating taxation as a form of compelled charity, you're the second guy. And just because the third guy wears a police uniform doesn't make it any less of a shakedown. Now consider how you would feel in that scenario. When you were moved by compassion, your giving was not only a blessing to the homeless man, but a blessing to you, to your own soul. Now, under threat of arrest and imprisonment, you're not only less compassionate, but you're probably a little pissed about it. Is that really how we want this to go? As someone who gives a significant portion of my income to various charities every year, I'm particularly bothered by all this. Whenever I hear someone say, I can afford to pay more taxes if it'll help people, I roll my eyes. Because if you can afford to pay more taxes, you can afford to give more to charity on your own today. So why aren't you? The fact that you're advocating higher taxation to fill this gap is you trying to make yourself feel better by dipping into your neighbor's pockets. Here's a suggestion. Write a check. the ones with your name on them. Tell me what you think of this video. What do you think about my description of taxes? What do you think is the best way to help more people in need? Discuss in the comments. In the meantime, be sure to like, subscribe, and share for more videos on religion, culture, and politics. That's all for today. This is St. John the Philosopher. Goodbye, God bless, and I'll see you in another video.